few of you have asked me about majoring in sociology, double majoring in sociology, or minoring in sociology, or even just taking more sociology courses. So I figured I would record a short video talking about why someone might make that choice. Because I will say sociology is thought of as one of the better double majors or minors because it's so compatible with a lot of other different things you could focus on. So whether you're going into health, whether you're going into physical therapy, whether you're going into biology, anthropology, political science, history, sociology often works well with those, right? It's really can adapt to pretty much any other major. It's hard for me to think about ones that it would not add some value to. So something to consider moving on, but let me talk a little bit about sociology. So one of the things that is probably pretty obvious and one of the questions someone should ask is, sociology is not a degree that guarantees you a job as a sociologist, right? It's not something that just lines up. I have a sociology degree, therefore I know exactly what I'm going to do. That's different than something like nursing, something like exercise science, which guides you into a particular type of field or a very specific path. It's very different than if you went to a place like Utica College or CUCA and majored in construction management or construction science, right? You know what you're going to do with that degree. Sociology is not that thing because a sociologist, unless you're in academia, sociologist doesn't really exist out there in the world. So let's think a little bit about why you might make that choice. First thing I wanted to do is just reflect a little bit about what a sociologist could actually study. Now, in intro, I wanted to expose you to a bunch of different things, but the semester was rather strange and compressed. And even without that, I could not expose you to everything that sociologists study because they study such a diverse range of things. These are courses that you could take take specific upper level electives in and study at Brockport, or some of these things we don't even offer at Brockport because there's so many different options. Sociologists study globalization development, they study education, gender, music, race, ethnicity, food, the family, sexuality, the economy, art, sports, emotions and cognition, crime and policing, inequality of all different types. There's sociologists who focus on urban communities. Some sociologists focus on rural areas. There's sociologists who focus on law. Some sociologists just focus on networks themselves. All these different types of options. The key things that hold this field together is sociology pushes us to have different ways of thinking about the world and forces us to ask good questions about why things are the way they are. Now, the ways we think could be about focusing on power, right? I introduced the idea of conflict theory. It could be focusing on how people perform certain roles and interact with each other. That's symbolic interaction. It could be about functionalism. What holds us together, right? What keeps us together at a time where society seems to have large amounts of tension or be particularly strained? Why don't we just fall apart, right? These big theories sociology offers are designed to help us see patterns in chaos. The theories don't always work, but they provide maps that give us a way of understanding the world without focusing on each individual little bit of data we see. Rather, we start to say, okay, here's some patterns that can help us understand where the world's going and why it's going that way. Now, I'm hoping by the end of intro, because there's so much different stuff I could teach you in intro, but there's 4 things that I hope you walk away with. And all of these are really questions, and that's key. Sometimes asking the right question is just important as having the answer to something. So here's the 4 fundamental questions I hope you leave with at the end of this intro to sociology class. First, how is the situation affected by how society is structured? Second, how is what's happening today a result of what has happened in the past? These 2 things make up your sociological imagination. Third question, does it have to be this way? In a sense, as you're asking, does it have to be this way? You're making ordinary things strange, right? Why do we assume that this is the way it has to be? What are the powers that make it that way? Or you're looking at something strange and saying, well, that's actually kind of ordinary, right? That's actually something that makes sense. So maybe it does make sense that's that way. After asking that question, does it have to be this way? Then you can start to take into account, especially if the answer is no, those first 2 questions that you might ask and say, well, is change possible? And then how do I begin to make that change? How do I begin to facilitate a new path for society, right? What role can I actually play? What institutions are involved? Maybe that's a starting point, right? So these are 4 fundamental questions that make up your sociological imagination and that are useful to you no matter what you go into. Another way to think about the sociology major, I found this chart online, I really like this, is thinking about how the sociology major, in a sense, embodies this thing that liberal arts colleges like to push. They say, we are teaching you to be critical thinkers. We're teaching you the skill of critical thinking. Never really explained what that is, but I think sociology is a place where you really can learn how to do that, right? And by learning how to do that, it allows you to take advantage of those skills in all these different areas of your life. At the career, or in your career, thinking about family, and also being an engaged citizen. Thinking about, what is the community that I want to be part of? Where do I want to see this country go? I would say sociological thinking and critical thinking is incredibly important now, as important as ever before. It's easy to look around you and see people with a whole array and collection of reactionary stances. The country is arguably more divided now than ever before, right? This is part of the McDonaldization of politics. You're about to learn about McDonaldization. We often don't even really know what's happening. We just vote for the letter next to the name. We're not involved in the discussions. We just consume what's given to us. The media has become something that's been distrusted and polarized, so it's hard to know what to believe. There's an abundance of information, whether it's false or true. One of the things I saw recently is 14% of high school students can't tell the difference between an opinion and research. One of the skills that you gain in sociology is understanding, how do we know what data to trust, right? How do we know how to talk about key issues and know about what we need, know about what we have to find out before we can talk about those key issues, right? In this way, again, asking the right questions matter. However, the most important thing I would say, going back to that very first question of, but what do you do with a sociology degree, because you're not going to become a sociologist unless you go into academia, is, but how does it help you, right? So we have this critical thinking thing, we have these skills, but what do you actually do with it? Well, first thing I would say is, for the 3 major tests for grad school, depending on trajectories that you would go, sociology is a very good foundation. And specifically the LSAT, which is what you would take if you want to go to law school, and the MCAT, which is what you would take if you want to go forward with a medical degree, both have sections that are specifically sociological. And even without that, the skills that you learn in sociology, those logical and critical thinking skills, that's the foundation for the test. If you are taking the MCAT, I know some of you want to go that direction. The section in sociology, the section that type of questions you always get on that related to sociology, or just thinking about things like symbolic interaction, the role of the power of roles, face work, thinking about labeling theory, that type of stuff often appears on the MCAT. Sociology often also provides a very good basis for taking the GREs. Doesn't specifically have a sociology section, but that type of thinking and ability to read and write, that's on the GREs. Even more directly, sociology allows you to get jobs in business, government, the justice system, education, research, and community and social services. What you can see here is the best thing that sociology offers is that it's incredibly adaptable. Again, it does not just make you someone who can become a sociologist. Rather, you can take those skills and apply them to a variety of different types of jobs. Studies have shown that sociologists, their first job out of college, often is something where they get paid less in comparison to some other majors, something like nursing, for example, or construction management. However, when you survey and look at those same students 10 or 15 years later, they've had more upward mobility within their careers, right? They start lower because, again, you have this adaptable degree, but then you have the skills to move up within organizations. The other thing that we've seen is it's very rare now, and this wasn't true in the past, it's very rare now to get a single job and remain in that job or even in that same geographic location for the rest of your life. Most people have multiple jobs and switch between careers or types of careers. That is one of the reasons why I always say sociology is great as that minor, as that double major, or even as your single major, because it gives you those adaptable qualities. After I post this video, I'm going to post on Blackboard a PDF that has a list of different types of jobs and some quotes from people who have had a sociology degree and got different jobs, so you can have a sense of what type of opportunities you have. If you break it down, this will be included in the PDF, breaking down what type of jobs people have by percentage, so you can see types of internships people get, type of part-time or full-time jobs people get. This I actually find more interesting. So this was a survey, a national survey of sociology majors. And what I asked them was, how satisfied were you with your choice of being a sociology major? Now, those who got jobs that were closely related to sociology, not surprising, they were very happy with their choice, right? Nearly 70% said, yeah, I'm very satisfied that I chose sociology. 30% said I'm somewhat satisfied. Only 3% were dissatisfied. Pattern remains pretty clear here also. Only 4% said they were dissatisfied with sociology. This is the one that interests me the most and actually makes me happiest about the adaptable nature of sociology. Here we have people who got a job not at all related to sociology. So they have a sociology degree, they have some type of job which they say has nothing to do with that thing that I studied in college, and yet still only 13% of them were unhappy with that choice. That's pretty impressive. I would have guessed it would be a lot higher. Now, as you go out and try to get a job, especially if you're a sociology major, even if you're not a sociology major, you have to be able to market yourself. You have to say, these are the skills that I can offer to you. So what I was thinking about is, what are those skills as a sociology major that you can say to a potential employer? What are the things that you learn that you can offer? First, you can say, I have an advanced level or an advanced ability to understand social processes and contextual experiences, right? You can identify how cultural, economic, historical, and institutional factors affect the individual experience. This is the sociological imagination. Right now, businesses love to talk about the multicultural workforce. You have the ability as a sociology major to better understand that than virtually anyone else. Maybe if you took anthropology, you can make that argument, but I would say sociology is well positioned. Next thing, you can develop evidence-based arguments, right? That's engaging those critical thinking skills I was talking about. Third thing, you can work effectively in groups and on projects. This is something we emphasize in the major. Sociologists often have the ability, because you study groups, you study community, you should also be able to understand how to facilitate those conversations. Fourth thing, and I would say this is the most important one, perform quantitative and qualitative research. Sociology majors have the ability to use statistical software, whether that's Excel or some more advanced program, to design qualitative research that might take advantage of interviews or ethnography, or maybe you're doing something like content analysis, or you're doing some sort of experiments. Those are skills that really matter. This is why a lot of sociologists get hired by big tech firms like Facebook or Twitter, Instagram. They want you to be able to not just do statistical analysis, but make connections to the social world. And then the final thing is, sociology majors learn how to communicate information to others. It's not just about reading data, it's about presenting the data to other people. So those are the reasons that I think sociology offers you skills that you can market to your employer. And then the final thing that I'll say is, you should remember, you are trying to figure out what you are going to do, what your career is going to be, not simply what your job is going to be. Again, people change jobs very often. So you want something that is somewhat adaptable. If you know your passion is nursing, that's wonderful, right? You can get a job in nursing, you can get a job, and I'm just using nursing because it's a common example, but you know you can get a job in that thing. Now, what sociology might do is give you a little bit of adaptability. Maybe you want to be in nursing now, but later on you want to move into healthcare administration, somewhat very related to it. Or maybe you want to go volunteer for a nonprofit, or you want to use your nursing skills and take it out into the community and help people deal with health issues where there's maybe, I don't know, we could use an example, people in the city are exposed to lead at higher rates, and you want to use not only your nursing skills, but some of your sociological thinking to deal with that, right? That's the reason you might want to take classes that are under the sociology heading. Final thing I'll say is, I know a lot of you are in your first year, it seems a little bit early, but it's never too early to just check out a random job board. Idealist is this great place which lists nonprofits and non-governmental organizations. They post jobs. You could look at Simply Hired or Indeed. Those are kind of like Google-like places to find jobs. They pull together postings from various company websites. So that's all I have. I hope this was helpful. Always happy to talk more about why you would choose to major in sociology or what type of jobs are out there. But this is a starting point.